for sotatercept, I assume that your group well, at least by your group, I mean PAH Canada, has done probably, I assume, a lot of work. And maybe if you can walk us through sort of the type of work that you've been doing to make sure that patients hopefully get access to this, it seems like first in class therapy that hopefully is even reversing the actual disease itself completely. Maybe if you can walk us through some of the efforts that you have, especially your team has already made to get it this far.
Well, actually, there's nothing that, as an organization, there's nothing that a patient organization can do until the drug is approved in Canada, right? Like there's we can keep our like basically what we're doing right now is keeping our fingers crossed and hoping that the drug will be approved, and then once it's approved, then we will go out and advocate to get that drug available to Canadians across this country, and to available as many as many Canadians with PAH, obviously, as possible. Because I don't know, again, I don't know if our listeners understand how the funding process works, but in Canada, when a drug gets approved, CADTH, that recommendation from CADTH goes to what's called PCPA, which is the representative organization that represents all public payers across Canada. And they work with the manufacturer to come up with a price, a negotiated price that drug will be sold in Canada. And then once that is done, and that can take months, but once that is done, the manufacturer still has to go to every single individual payer province and get them to put the drug on their formulary. And so we could get an approval for sotatercept from, I have no idea when, maybe a couple of months, maybe 5 months from CADTH within the year, but we could wait another year before it's actually available to anybody who needs access through a public drug plan. And so that is where patient organizations come in. I mean, if you have access, again, we're talking a lot of times patient organizations talk about equitable access, because if you have access to private health insurance, you generally get access to those drugs sooner, as long as they're willing to put them on their formulary. And they generally do that well before any negotiation through with the PCPA. But anybody who doesn't have access to a public drug plan, a private drug plan, has to wait for public access. And that literally can take well over a year. But that's where patient organizations get involved. We try and get people across the country to talk to their MPs, to work to make them understand how important this particular drug might be to them, and ask them to look into getting it funded on their formulary. The drugs that we currently have for PAH are not available to all patients across Canada. There are still some public formularies that do not carry all of the drugs. So it kind of is sad. We talk a lot about a thing called postal code lottery, which means it really does depend where you live in this country sometimes where you get, when you can get access to drugs. And so that's another way we need to improve getting earlier access to drugs, is trying to improve that system, so that if you live in Ontario, whether you live in Ontario or Alberta or BC or PEI, you can get access to the drug at the same time.